This is Bucket Talk, a weekly podcast for people who work in the trades and construction that aren't just trying to survive, but have the ambition and desire to thrive. The opportunity in the trades and construction is absolutely ridiculous right now. So if you're hungry, it's time to eat. We discuss what it takes to rise from the bottom to the top with people who are well on their way and roll up their sleeves every single day.
All right. And on our first episode, we have Chloe Hudson, arc welding angel. Chloe is a precision TIG welder and fabricator. Welcome, Chloe.
Hi.
Awesome. So I'm super pumped. Been following your journey for a long time. Super stoked to have you on. I want to get to know more about you. I want to get to know all the stuff that you're in. I mean, you're doing some pretty crazy stuff. As a novice amateur welder, definitely envious of your skills, and so being able to do the stuff that you do is something that I would love to achieve in my future. But let's get to know you a little bit more, Chloe. Where are you based out of? A little bit of your background and how you got to where you are today.
So a little bit of background. I actually didn't always want to be a welder. I really wanted to be a plastic surgeon initially. And my entire high school career, I spent pursuing those, goals. In my senior year of high school, I literally had no more science I could take, nothing else that pertained to a health sciences degree. And I had to fill my schedule with something. I had a piece of shit old Jeep, 1998 Jeep Cherokee, and the group of guys that I kind of ran around with also had Jeeps and trucks, and it was our shared interest. And I really couldn't contribute much because I was, of course, my main focus was pursuing this career and as like a plastic surgeon. And so I wanted to learn something that could apply to my life and be helpful. So I took the welding class that my vocational school offered, and really took to it. Loved the instant gratification that came with it. Loved the fact that I could improve markedly every single time that I did it, and really loved it. Honestly, it kind of became a passion that I never really expected to have. And so fast forward to graduation, I went to start doing clinicals, did them at the VA. Horrendous experience. So I kind of had to rewrite what I really thought my future was going to look like, and started working in maintenance in the nuclear sector, doing nuclear shutdowns, outages. And I really noticed that the paper tag guys, all the guys that came in with new trucks and clean shirts and, they big pimping on site, they were all craft guys. And I was like, man, maintenance sucks. We get all the shitty work that nobody else wants to. And now, granted, it made me a lot more grateful now that I have this station in life. But, I did all the terrible jobs. If there was a pump that was leaking and had to get cleaned out from underneath it, I helped do it. If we had to get repainted in the turbine building, I had to do it. Paint abatements. I mean, everything you can think of, hanging lead in the reactor building. It was lots of good life experience that I kind of knew I really wanted to hone in my focus on something. And I applied for higher level jobs, and I had this great resume, and one of the recruiters was like, you're a jack of all trades and a master of none. I have nothing I can do with you. And it really kind of stuck in here that I had to master something to be able to demand a premium for the work that I did. And that's exactly what I did. I went to trade school. I had 2 credits from high school passing a plate test doing stick welding. So I kind of was already ahead, and jumped on that. Took 2 years, got my degree, ended up with a lot of American Welding Society certifications, which kind of gave me a little bit of a leg up. Especially with my lack of experience directly as a welder in the field. So I was very blessed that the school that I went to offered that.
Yeah.
I won the stainless steel category for Skills USA, welding out a 3-inch stainless steel pipe. So pipe welding, combo welding was kind of my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
It's what I was most used to. It's what I saw the most in the field. And I really kind of took it from there and went from nuclear maintenance to building dry cast storage containers that held spent nuclear fuel. And
go.
those were all predominantly stainless steel. So that was a great stepping stone, and moved into hydroelectric turbine unit shutdowns and refurbishment. And that was a lot of really heavy industrial welding. And I kind of always had it in my mind that I really wanted to do precision TIG, because that was the art of it. That was the beauty of welding to me. And so I would take my lunch breaks and stay late at work and take jobs and components that called for MIG welds or stick welds. And my boss, Mike Garner, actually let me take my own personal time, take longer to TIG weld it, so I could really hone that part of the craft. And that's what ended up leading to this position. My current boss, Shane Love, he and Coy Gibbs had this project, this endeavor, which is Joe Gibbs Aerospace, where I currently work. And they actually pulled my work from Instagram. I had started using Instagram almost like a portfolio.
Interesting.
As an easy place to kind of direct people to what I did, my day to day. Because honestly, there's especially when it comes to trades, it's a perfect place to kind of put your work out there and get critiques from other people in the industry. So, you know,
oh really? Get
critiques. Get critiques. I think every welder, it kind of falls into that trap of, the beautiful blue and purple welds. There was always a lot of discussion about, the quality of those welds, and, come to find out you're really looking for that perfect stainless steel, shiny, wheat colored, which was great, because when I transitioned into titanium, that's exactly what they were looking for. So I tried to take my criticism constructively and do what I needed to do with it. But that's where I am now. I work for Joe Gibbs Racing. I'm in their aerospace program. We build airship components. It's primarily titanium hubs. And so that's what really you see the most on my Instagram right now.
So when you refer to airship, that's nothing different than just an airplane, correct?
Correct. So it's just a different type of aircraft.
Okay.
Think a Zeppelin. So this is the modernized version of a Zeppelin.
Okay. Interesting.
Yes.
So how often are you building one of these creations, or?
So technically we're on P3, which is the third generation of this particular airship. So they've gotten progressively larger with each stage. And it's a humanitarian effort, and Sergey Brin is the one funding it. He's the old CEO of Google. And the humanitarian portion of this effort is these airships would be deployed to disaster areas. They'd be based on like military air bases, and it would give an opportunity for power, Wi-Fi, and essential needs to be housed in these airships, and they could stay put. So instead of having an aircraft come in, drop off, and leave, here it is kind of like a floating safe haven, if you will, and just power and Wi-Fi to really help those people in need. So that's where we're at with that major project we've got going on right now.
Wow. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, the blimps, or Zeppelins as we would have called it, mean, I've only seen them recently with like NASCAR and a few other, sporting events, but it's interesting to see that they're somewhat making a comeback, and if so, they're being used for other than marketing and advertisement needs. So.
Right. And it's funny, like, you get so used to doing cool stuff that I forget that if I'm short on airship parts, I do NASCAR race car parts. So we have a 4-car team here. It's the 18, 19, 20 car and 54 car. So your FedEx car, Bass Pro car, DeWalt car.
Obviously racing the Cup Series.
Yes, Cup Series. I've actually done a part for every NASCAR series they've got. So Truck Series, even Xfinity Series. I did parts for SRX Series. So I've been they keep us busy up here for sure.
I just, when we came on with BRUNT, our first major sponsorship was Mason Massey in the Xfinity Series, and it was wild. And now this year he's going full-time truck. So we're excited to stick with the driver, and so we're going to be a Truck Series team, and we're excited about it.
Cool. Yeah. That's super exciting.
Yeah. So obviously now we're 2 days ahead of every major race, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So um, that's interesting because I've talked to a lot of mechanics, I've talked to a lot of welders, and it's interesting because, like, at least in the automotive side, when we were talking to one of the pit crew um, personnel, they had said that they went through, Universal Technical Institute and then went through the NASCAR Institute, and that's kind of how they got into it. Um, some welders just say, I just weld, and then I get an opportunity. For you, when you had talked about schooling, where did you actually go to secondary schooling? You went to trade school first, but then you did a
Yeah.
secondary schooling. What was that, a welding academy, or was that?
Well, I actually did a Tri-County Technical College,
Yep.
so they offer a 2-year bachelor associate's degree, not bachelor's degree, associate's degree.
All right.
So I got my associate's degree in applied sciences, and
Nice.
my minor was my major was welding. So that's you graduated, like I had to take core classes, but my main focus was welding, and they did, like, I had blueprint class, that kind of thing. I had history of welding. I had each 6-month period was dedicated to a particular type of welding. So we got a lot of hands-on shop experience that was
Yeah.
honestly fantastic, the way that they had it lined out for us. But I didn't do an arc labs. I didn't do something where they really threw you in a booth. I'm not a massive believer in that. I think that there's some people who can really pick it up and do it. But for me personally, I need time under the hood. I need that one-on-one from an instructor to kind of be like, hey, no, your toes aren't fused in well enough. You got cold laps here. You need to make it more even. Everybody on Instagram loves welding. It's pretty. It looks nice. I had never done that
Yeah.
even in school until I got out in the field, ironically enough. But what they taught me there was such a good foundation for everything that I picked up later,
Yeah.
because it was solid. It was solid. Everything that they taught me was the textbook way of doing it, and it really helped in the end, especially for someone like me who is just I'm very critical
Yep.
of myself, and it's something like that where you actually can kind of learn it all encompassing about welding, and it not just be a forum or your buddy down the street, or you pick up really bad habits because you learned from somebody and that's all you've done for the first 6 weeks. And so I got very lucky
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah. I'm sure
I
I'm
took this
probably one of
particular
those
route.
people.
No.
But it's
Oh man.
it's it's actually funny because that's the conundrum that I talk about, especially with going to actually a high school trade school into a technical community college to potentially
Right.
a for-profit UTI, MMI, Wyotech, something like that. Or just going straight into the field or trying to find certifications on your own
Right.
that way. One point you did bring up that I like, because as I continued my journey further and I did get my college degree, one of the coolest things that you mentioned was actually getting that 2-year degree along with the necessary skills you needed to go forward. I didn't have that opportunity, so while I had some college credits, I didn't actually have an associate's degree. I
Right.
lucked out because I was able to transfer a lot of them, but had I looked into the automotive industry a little bit further, I would have gone for something that had, a more than just like a technical certificate.
Right.
That was my mistake. You know, I think in the end it all worked out, but I think that's one of the things that I could tell somebody is like, hey, check that box for whatever it means. You know what I mean? Just get that
Yeah.
associate's degree, get the bachelor's degree in whatever technology that you got, if it's available to
Well,
you.
and for me, for the time it took, and I still worked 2 jobs. I worked a night shift job. I worked a weekend job. I paid for it out of pocket, which
Yep.
was a massive thing for me. I didn't graduate with any student debt at all.
Congratulations.
I graduated cum laude, which was a miracle, to be completely honest. But I think when you look at technical colleges, people forget that there's programs like MicroWorks. I was a recipient of one of their scholarships, and it paid for an entire semester for me. American Welding Society is another massive one that does a lot of grants and scholarships. And there's so many people who really want to highlight the trades right now because of how important infrastructure is, and the fact that so many tradesmen are aging out. I
Yeah.
mean, and that's really what it boils down to is when everyone switched over to this kind of just get a coding job
Yeah.
thing, you had such this boom of students that went that direction that everyone forgot that coding doesn't matter if you don't have the infrastructure to get there.
That's right.
So, and I think it was a really, really rude awakening these last couple of years, especially with these natural disasters. And you realize that your plumbing, it's like a plumber. Your pipe burst in Texas and they can't get a plumber for 6 months, if
Right.
not longer.
Yeah.
And I think those situations really puts the importance of tradespeople in people's faces. And it's something that's undeniable. And it's, it's not just some hairy guy with his butt crack hanging out. Like, no, these are people who are extremely educated, extremely good at their craft,
Absolutely.
like have honed it, have put years into it. And the thing about it, I like to tell a lot of people is like, I can learn to do your job. You can't do my job. Like a lot of times it's not all created equal. A lot of these people are, you might be the 1%, but even if you look at welding, it's such just an umbrella term. There's so many things that are associated with it. Even, from engineering, structural. If you drove on a road, thank a welder. If you have, if you use your cell phone, thank a welder, because there's cell phone towers, the soldering that goes into the pieces in the phone itself. All those things are so imperative to our day-to-day that I'm really glad that it's kind of finally getting that attention it really deserves, because I fell victim to it. I couldn't tell you what welding exactly was, like, especially the vast kind of, I mean, there's so many things that go into it, and I was definitely one of those people who didn't even really take that into consideration.
Well, I'm sure our listeners have probably heard this over and over again, but still, I mean, our high school didn't even promote any of that stuff. I mean, we had computer lab and a few other things that were more geared towards the technology side of things, but home ec and shop class and even child development and cooking, like those things were no longer. And so it was interesting, like when I got my break in the military, and then it was like, hey, what do you want to be? Choose from this book. And I'm like, interesting. So as I got into the military, I realized, all right, I come in non-rated. I don't have a specific job. I'm everybody's whatever you want to call it. But so I'm a tool for everybody. And in that process, I learned different trades. Didn't want to be a plumber. Nope. Carpenter.
No.
Nope. So I ended up getting into the machinery side of things, which was encompassing welding and fabricating, but mainly, like you had said, the maintenance side of things, diesel engines, generators, potable water systems, sewage systems, and the list goes, cooling system, just went on and on and on. So we're doing refrigeration units, we're doing this, we're doing that, but it's all basic understanding. And then I was able to hone those skills in through further education, and then just like a clearer path and direction that I wanted to go. But that was kind of the cool thing about starting this, was exactly what you said. There's a lot of trades empowerment out there. And for me, when I first started it, like the whole thesis behind my idea of being here, not necessarily Eric's, but it was, I have nobody to hire. Like, we have a shop, a guy quits. I don't have, there's nobody there. Nobody's asked for an application. I could put it on Monster, Indeed. It didn't matter. I could ask my buddy who's a tenured mechanic at a dealership, and he's like, nobody wants to leave. And so then you go down to the trade schools, right? And the automotive class in our area is like 15 towns. It was like 10 automotive students. I'm like, so out of the graduating class, 10 of them are available to
and
these.
It's just,
and most of them, and to boot, most of them are owners' sons and daughters. So they're just like following in their parents' footsteps. They're gonna go back to the tow company or auto body shop that their parents had them get a basic foundation. And so you got like 5 kids to choose from, and you're like, this is awful.
Or on the flip side of that too, you even get like the entitled kids who think that they deserve top pay right off the rip.
Yeah.
And it's like you can't get them. You get the prima donnas too, man. It's just it's a very interesting world of non-reality a lot of times for me. It's just I struggle with it a lot, because I think you know, I mean, even my hobbies on the side, it still work,
Yeah.
and I value it, and I think a lot of that came from my dad and the things that he instilled in me. But we're starting to edge into the generation of the kids who don't even have parents that really instill that work ethic, and
Right.
that the way you contribute, and how are you a contributing member to society? You know, and it doesn't have to be traits. Like, are you just nice to people? Like, do you just have good manners? So,
My dad said that from day one. You know, I'm gonna make you into a productive member of society. Literally, that was the words out of his
yes.
mouth, and I was like, I don't really know what that means, but I've found that
Well,
out
now you
over time.
do.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, well, it's like, yeah, like now you do, and you're like, okay, I get it. And
Yeah,
now when you have kids, you're like, no, you're gonna take the trash out
exactly.
because I said, and that's the only reason you need.
They don't listen to me anyway. But no, I mean you're 100% right, and you know, back to the point of everybody wants to be that high paid person. I mean, I don't know how many guys we had come down that were like, I want to be an operator, and it's like, here, you're gonna grease it. There's 187 grease fittings. Like that's how you learn your machine. You're not just gonna hop in it and ding around.
Right.
Um, to be honest with you, I learned that lesson myself too. I mean, I came in a little hot when I was
Yeah.
younger too. But yeah, it's humbling. It's good. It's like, you know, start from the bottom, learn from your surroundings, and then and it keep you safer, to be honest with you too. There's a lot of cowboys out there that think they know it all, and really it takes a lesson or two for them to realize that they need to slow it down and do it properly. But um yeah, what honestly, where do you picture your career going? Like, so you, it seems like you got it. You're in it. Like, what's next for you?
Well, I actually I put it kind of on my to-do list to get my certified weld inspector, and I accomplished that, and I'm really super excited kind of to add that to my repertoire. And I think I'm from that group of people that I'm good. I know that sounds crazy. I know there's this constant need for hustle, 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 and every time you get on Instagram, someone's telling you to be an entrepreneur, and just shoving this narrative down your throat that if you don't own your own business, you're a
Yeah.
slave to the man. And you know, it's like, I think sometimes there's such a disservice because you know what? You can be a good employee. Like, you can be someone who wants to be where you work for 10 years, for 15 years, for 20 years.
Yep.
You don't have to want to own the business. And that's something that's really the place that I'm at now. You know, a lot of people have come to me and I've done side work here and there, and they're like, well, why don't you do your own business? And I was like, I don't want it. I don't want my own business.
Yeah.
You know, like, I want to come to work. I want to clock in. I want to know exactly what I got to do. I want to put a good part out at the end of the day. I want to go home and I want to enjoy my life. I don't need to make $1 million. If I stayed with this company the next 20 years of my life, I'm good. I
Yeah.
love it here. It's clean. It's cool. There's no shortage of things to learn. I'm constantly, you know, hanging body panels or operating this piece of equipment and machine. And, you know, we've had everything from Burger King signs. We welded aluminum Burger King signs to airship parts, to NASCAR race car parts, and to, you know, 6-inch I beams for mooring mast. And so this job is such a dream job for me that I mean, I know everybody wants to give a good 10-year plan, but dude, I'm good. I'm happy. I'm happy where I'm at.
No, I mean that's it's awesome. I mean, it also seems like with, and I don't know if you encompass this generation, but the generation coming in, they seemed a lot more. It was actually startling to some of the old heads in the fact that like they didn't want to work that 80-hour work week, and you know they just wanted to do the 60 or 50 hours, and you know, then when you start to talk to them, they're like, no, I'm going skiing this weekend. I'm going to enjoy life. Like my in my view of that, like I came from the old guard where it's like, you know, you're working overtime, you're doing 12-hour plus days. And then I started to realize when I had kids and everything that, you know, obviously there's a need for that. I'm not downplaying that
Oh
at all.
yeah.
But on the flip side, it's like I was literally going home and thinking about work and then just going back to work. So my
Oh
life
yeah.
revolved around work, and I was like, I almost was envious of some of these kids that are like, work is secondary to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, like it's so funny because I was a serial workaholic. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess we're definitely cut from the same cloth. I mean, I used to work 6 days, 7 days. I worked in Massachusetts, and they you couldn't work Sundays because union, and I got signed off so I could work on Sundays. And I have always
Where'd you
had.
work in Mass, by the way? Because that's where I'm
I
from.
worked at Bear Swamp. So I worked at Bear Swamp Hydroelectric, and
Okay.
we did the turbine refurbishment and change out up there. And that's what I did
Interesting.
before I came here. Yeah, it was great. It was in a mountain. It was the first time I'd ever seen 24 inches of snow. And thank God was driving a truck at the time, because man, my little southern ass was not ready for all that. It was ridiculous. So,
I wanted more pain, so I moved up to Maine, and we get
oh
even
my
more
God.
snow. So
I actually started dating my boyfriend at that time, and it was so funny because every time I'd go visit him, I
yeah.
had to go buy girl clothes. I had nothing but hoodies and bibs and boots.
What's
That's
wrong
it.
with
That's
that?
all I had. Well, it's just like you forget that, like, oh no, you have identity outside of your
Yeah,
job. And
exactly.
I think a lot of people just really lean into the identity of their job. And ironically enough, I come to work here. I start working here. It's 410s. I mean, that's a schedule everybody wants.
Yeah.
And what do? I sign up for social media to do for Tony Stewart Racing on the weekends. So I work 7 days a week again. Glutton for punishment over here, I guess.
The smoke, nice.
Man, I tell you what, it is such, and I almost feel like it can't be real because I love it. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like you're supposed to love it, but man, it is. It's just a different town every weekend. There's 24 race weekends out of the year where I'm going somewhere, and then on top of that, appearances, and it just kind of it hits that creative bone in my body to do social media for something completely different than welding. Because going back to those critics, you don't. I don't have a built-in fan base. You have built-in people who are critical of you because that's the nature of trades.
Yeah.
Is the ego attached to it.
Yep.
So to have a race team that you get to focus on one driver and their fan base, and they come out wanting to be fans of that person, it has been a nice reprieve, to be honest.
Well,
sometimes.
it's wild too because he was Cup Series and now he's drags, right? And
loves it.
and
Loves
then
it.
he also has what was the race the
quarter midgets. He does quarter midgets too.
So I mean,
Insane.
he can't get an. I grew up with him as a Cup Series racer, and now he's moved on from that, and he's doing his own thing. It's crazy.
It is like a kid on Christmas morning. I mean, every weekend that I see him
Yeah.
out there, he is like gung ho, ready to go. The nicest person I have ever met in my life, and just one of the best dudes. His drivers, Matt Hagan, he's another one of the nicest people.
Yeah.
That the most generous, humble drivers I've ever met. Is like one of those guys that'll stay on the line and talk to fans all day long. Leah, I mean, I've known her last 4 years, and she is just so embraced that role of like having the team owner as your husband, and you can really see all of these people come together into their own, and it's been amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the second thing in 4 years that I've gotten to be a part of from like startup, and I'm like, wow, this is great. This is cool. It's really cool to see that evolution of it.
It's wild too because like I mean the fact that I've gone up through the trades, military to being a foreman to now this new endeavor of trying to empower more and bring more lights to the trades, and I had this unique opportunity to work with BRUNT, and same with you. I mean, it's amazing that I couldn't have dreamt this up for myself, and yet if I had told somebody knowing where I was going to be, what my path would be, they would have told me to go pound sand because we're literally never coming out of the depths. And I think there's more and more opportunities for people. And to be honest with you, it's attainable. Anybody can do it. I could be replaced by the next guy. Who knows? Right.
Right.
So it's interesting. It's like hard work, dedication, just grinding it out and looking for new opportunities. And it sounds like you've landed an awesome opportunity, or multiple, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's great.
So, all right. So it sounds like you work 7 days a week. You don't like anything but welding. But if outside of that, what do you like to do? Like, what is Chloe on the weekends like?
I am a feminist worst nightmare because like as gung ho as I am for this trade
Yeah.
and racing and all that, man, there's nothing better than getting to just dress up, be a girl, make food, bake, cook. Like those things are something that I definitely like revel in myself. And I love the whole antique shopping. I love visiting like historical monuments. I'm honestly like a 62-year-old woman trapped in a 29-year-old's body. It's ridiculous. Like every time we go to a place, like I try and find at least one historically significant something to
That's
visit.
cool.
Yeah, there's so much here, and there's so much history. I mean, I don't see how you can't entertain yourself forever
Yeah.
just learning about it all. So I really love to read. I'm a big nonfiction reading enthusiast. I really like to learn about the American West and settling the West in the Civil War and past founding presidents and that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm so boring. It's basically what it comes down to. I'm boring.
No. I mean, to be honest with you, we do share in some of that. Massachusetts, New England is like full of history. I've lived in
Right.
the Springfield area, which had Springfield Armory and Basketball Hall of Fame, and up north the Volleyball Hall of Fame, to moving out to Lexington, and now it's the Battle of Lexington Concord and all that. And now I live up in Maine in a house that was built in 1795. So I'm learning
Oh yeah.
all about the Payne family. They were Coopers, or Coopersmiths. And it's just like I'm in the Payne Historic District. We have literally
That's
a
awesome.
graveyard on site. And so it's cool. I mean, I think you could learn a lot from the past. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
By the way, my wife, I got a bone to pick with you. My wife caught your closet redo.
Oh
We might have to
yeah,
talk
man.
about that often.
And that's on transferable skills.
No, it came out awesome. I mean, it was sick.
Dude, I had no faith. It was one of those things where I bought a house 1880. It was when my house was born.
Yeah.
Born. Jesus Christ, not when it was born. When it was built. And they redid the inside and everything was just contractor grade stuff.
Yeah.
So I started with my laundry room, and I haven't quite finished it yet, but it was where I like mitered corners and let's learn how to do wallpaper and trim,
Right.
hanging a cabinet. So I've like kind of tippy toed into it. And then one weekend I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's try it. Let's try it out.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's just, my dad definitely came out of me, because whenever I was little, if I wanted anything built by him, anything, it didn't matter what it was. It didn't matter if it was a cardboard box fort. I had to write a blueprint and plan and draw it out for him and take measurements. And honestly, what it was is that he just knew I wouldn't do it, so he didn't have to build the thing for me. But now that I'm an adult, I definitely understand the importance of it. And so I was at work one day and I kind of lined it out and I was like, I can do this. And then you watch 2 YouTube videos and you're like, oh, I can do this. I can definitely do this. And you go, and I've got my dad's old table saw up here and miter saw, and I got a hacksaw too. And I was like, I got this. And I went to Lowe's and had them cut out the MDF for me. And the first little cubby, I thought I was going to be so smart. And of course, I'm by myself, mind you. And it's an 8-foot tall ceiling. So I build this cubby out on my porch, and it's 8 feet tall. And I don't put a back on it because I'm an idiot. And I try to drag this thing in through my house. It fell apart. It's just flat crumbled. And my poor dog, she's 11 years old, and she understood if I opened the door and I was walking through it with something, she would go run and hide in the bathroom. I think I cursed her a few times too many, but it was such a learning experience. And I've been in trades for 12 years.
Yeah.
All right. There's nothing more intimidating for a welder who can put metal back where they accidentally took it out.
Hell yeah.
To do carpentry. There is nothing more intimidating, because it's like
mixing up a batch of glue and sawdust.
Exactly. And it was so rewarding. I slept with my closet light on for like 3 days. Just 3 days. So I'd wake up and the closet light would be on. I was like, man, this is great. But hack. So the thing that I did is I went to IKEA and I got like the drawer unit, which helped. It's such a that is such an easy shortcut, and it kind of gives you everything to build off of.
Right.
So that's where I got my depth, was that drawer unit. And then I put in one of those shelf units, and it saved me so much time. Did I buy enough material where I could have bought the shelf unit and done it myself? Absolutely. Did it save me a ton of time? Yes. But this is where you mess up. You accomplish these things, and now I think I can do anything. I think I can do anything that I need to do for my house. Like, sure, I can tie in a gas line, right? Like,
and that's the funny part, because I've actually got myself into trouble where and that's where you got to have a good Rolodex of people that are actually
Yes.
qualified to. You're like, hey, Wade, yeah, I'm gonna need your help with this electrical problem I got going on here. And then they come over and they're like, dude, you're so
what
stupid.
Have you done?
Exactly.
What have you done?
You know, you could have actually, the first thing is, you know, you could have killed yourself, right? And,
oh my God. Well, and what I did too, because I had to change out is a light switch. So I went and the maintenance guy here, his name's Scooter. I think I bug him to death. And so I was like, I gotta change my light thing out. And he sent me screenshots, what to buy at Lowe's with part numbers, and I brought it in, and he tied little baby wires in. So now I knew I just gotta, this one goes to green, this one goes to black, this one goes to white. He was like, this is foolproof. If you burn your house down, it's your fault. And I was like,
exactly.
I understand. I understand completely.
Awesome. So one thing I like to do in the show is I like to plug a tool, actually. So it could be something that you aspire to owning, or something that helped you out early on in your career. But what is like a number one tool for you, either past or present?
It's for a welder. It was so funny. So Michael Furick is the creator of the Furick Cup, glass cup. And the beginning of my career, I went to Fab Tech, and that's all I wanted. I just wanted one of these $40 cups, because I swore to God it was going to have the magic make me better welder. And I went to Fab Tech, drove to Atlanta from South Carolina. That's the only thing I wanted. And the poor fella just would not sell me one. He told me that when I was a real welder, maybe I could buy one then, and it would not sell it to me. And so I messaged Furick online, and I was like, hey man, what have I got to do to get my hands on one of these? I want one. I don't care, whatever. And he, bless him, he sent me, I've never paid for a Furick Cup since. And he has been ride or die since day one for me. He has believed in everything that I've been trying to do.
That's awesome.
And as a welder and someone, I have a kit for everything.
Yeah.
And I think it's worse than women with accessories, because everything costs more. And that's why if you're a woman in trade, you're double fucked, because I like accessories and tools. And so it's terrible. But a Furick Cup, as much as people say they're not necessary, when you get into precision work, especially this titanium stuff that we're doing, that tool is so essential in making your life easier and better. It's insane. It is worth its weight in gold. Spend the $40. The SSBBW that he just came out with, honestly, I barely need a trailing cup for. If you go and you look at my page, majority of people cannot believe I do not do any sort of mechanical finish on that weld. That perfect slick titanium weld is how it is. It's how it comes. It's how it is. And it's the post flow I put on is 30 seconds, and it is insane. 10 out of 10. That's the tool that I would recommend.
Awesome.
That will change the game for you as a welder. But that being said, you have to use it right. It's 40 CFH. I know a lot of people don't want to spend the money on argon. That's what it takes, and it's one of those things. You use it right, it'll change the world for sure.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I mean, the video is just showing the argon coming right out of it. I mean,
yeah,
that's magic, right?
Yes, that is 10 out of 10. Yes.
Awesome. So this is the end of the show. I feel like we've covered a lot of ground. We got to know you a little bit better. To be honest, I like to use this part for you to plug anything, where they can find Chloe on all channels. Reach out to her if any questions or what have you, but fire away. Well,
I'm Arc Welding Angel on everything. I usually just use Instagram. That's kind of been my primary platform.
Yep.
I'm maybe YouTube. We'll see. I reserve the domain name. I don't know if I have time to really kind of jump into that. I'd love to. But other than that, I'm keeping it simple. Just Arc Welding Angel on Instagram. And if you got questions, ask me. Yeah, simple as
Awesome.
that.
Well,
Yeah.
thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is super exciting. I love your boots. So it's a natural fit, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as a special thanks to our loyal listeners, we're giving $10 off your next purchase of $60 or more at BRUNTWorkwear.com. Use discount code BucketTalk10. That's BucketTalk10.